welcome back. This is Michelle from Michelle's Empty Nest, and today I am going to do a 12 by 12 layout with you. I've only done maybe one or two other layouts, 12 by 12 layouts that I have actually filmed the process for. So this is still something pretty new to me to try to capture it, on camera without it being too long. Also, I have not done a sketch. I don't have much more than a slight plan in place. I am working with possibly these papers, but the process is going to be for the first day of the load challenge with the Scrap Happy family. And so we're talking about something where someone was maybe fashionable at the time, and then also trying to include plaid as a technique. So I'm working with this little photo here, which is of my husband and his little sister. And even though I don't know the exact date of this, I'm assuming it's Easter because they're dressed up, more than normal, and they are holding Easter bunnies or bunny rabbits. So I'm assuming this must have been around Easter time. The problem when I started trying to pull papers is that Olin's sister has a little pink floral. He has a very bold dark blue and tan plaid jacket. They've kind of got this, I think it's probably like a green leather, and then the green in the background. And if I got anything to work in this area, then it just did not work with these orange florals on the curtain. So I probably would have had an easier time printing this out in black and white, but I really wanted to just kind of keep that more vintage feel, even though, black and white is vintage too, but I didn't want it to go that route. I wanted to try to keep it in color and be vintage. So I started off trying to pull from a bunch of my Carta Bella paper because, it's just kind of got that feel, but really none of the colors or patterns would work for the whole picture. I did pull a couple of things. I had this kind of thinking maybe it would pull in some of the pink from Diane's little dress, and then I liked this Home Sweet Home chipboard piece, and then also what caught my eye, I don't know how well this will focus without glare, is this little thimble. It's kind of, like the faux Brad, because their mother was a seamstress. That's how she earned a living, and she did that right up until the day that she got too sick to work anymore and passed away. So I thought that would be very symbolic, and then maybe I could tie in a couple of more of those. I did pull two papers from Carta Bella. I just love the weight, especially for backgrounds, and I really liked the idea of trying to use this black paper from Carta Bella as a background page. Just got the light pink on the other side. And then this one I pulled maybe for a possible matte, just to bring in some of those green colors. This one was from Flora number 3. I think this one was probably from maybe Farmhouse Market or something. I'm not sure. Then I just went digging through a bunch of stuff, and I happened upon my Unforgettable collection from Coco Vanilla, and I thought, well, there's probably not going to be anything in here, but I'll look anyway. And I found this paper that has this orangey rosy tint, and it really was the best paper I had found that was going to tie in the orange. It picks up a little of her dress, a little of his pants, and even a little of their skin tones, kind of in some of this more pinky color. So I think I'm going to try to use that corner of this paper from Unforgettable. And the back side definitely didn't work. And then I found these two black and white papers, and you can always kind of work through black and white paper. So I have an idea maybe for additional matting with this one, and then I may do a torn section. That's my only little small plan so far, to kind of go up at the top. So we'll see. So I have no idea how this will go. I do have the rest of my Unforgettable collection off to the side, which is enamel dots, an ephemera pack. I have a little 6x8 paper pack if I wanted smaller patterns. And I do have some cardboard or cardstock stickers, as well as these foam thicker title pieces that maybe I can work in there somewhere, and then the 12x12 papers. So I am going to put you on fast forward and we'll see how this goes, hopefully without being too much of a hot mess. And yeah, so let's get started and see what we can do. Let's do it.
Okay, guys, this one took me quite a while. This one is going to be sped up a lot and I've edited out quite a bit. So I'm going to start off with just putting some craft foam on the back of my photo. Sometimes I use thicker foam that comes on the roll, but I just wanted a little bit thinner piece today. So I did the craft foam and then adhered it down with uh, my Scotch Tacky quick dry glue that I use in a fine liner bottle. And I'm going to do some distressing on all of the mats. I'm going to end up with 3 little mats, and so I'll distress all of those. I really distressing and stitching on most of my 12 by 12 traditional layouts, or what would be considered traditional, I guess. Um, I enjoy that. I love the messy look, and so I do that quite often. So now I'm just going to go ahead. I'm showing you my bruise there. It looks so bad. It's still left over from Tuesday. I'm filming this on Friday. I was put under sedation for a pain block in my neck, and so the IV that they put in my hand just left this horrible green and brown bruise, and it hurts pretty bad. But anyway, that's a little squirrel moment. So um, I go ahead and also put down that little spotty dot black and white, and now I'm putting down, I would call this kind of like a dark, um, what would I call that? Kind of a dark, maybe an olive green color is what that is in kind of true light. And then you saw me just go for it and rip this piece of paper. I liked the words on there for the fact that, this was memories and from times ago and captured and that kind of thing. And I want it to be messy, but I'm not wanting that hot pink from the back side of this paper to show through. So you'll see me kind of fiddle with it a few times to get all those little hot pink pieces off. And I use my distress tool again there. And then I am going through the ephemera pack from the Legendary collection, and I'm pulling out everything. I kind of won't call it a hot coral, kind of like a hot pink. It's that first layer that I put there that's a kind of a mix between orangey, peachy, pinky, hot color. So I pulled out what I thought might work for that, plus these black and white, like little leaves, foliage pieces, and kind of start fiddling around. I thought I might put a second cluster over there. I just didn't really like it. I thought it was taking too much attention. It was just too much going on. And so, and I tried this bigger piece. I was going to hide some of the other colors, but I still didn't like it. So a few of these pieces are going to go back in the bag of embellishments. And I am going to go with what you see there in a little bit different configuration, but basically that's what it's going to look like. So I did grab over the little cardstock stickers, but none of them would work either. So I'm adhering down. I usually use my ATG gun if I'm adhering larger pieces. I just think it gives it a really nice strong hold, and I think in the end it's probably much cheaper than trying to use roller adhesive for that. So I adhered it down more towards the center than the outside, and then I took it over to my sewing machine, and I was just kind of showing you how I am going about my method here. I do a messy stitch most of the time, and so I do a lot of back and forth on the corners especially, and sometimes like on this one today, since there wasn't well, I say there's not a lot going on. It's a busy pattern paper up there, but it's a black thread, so I just wanted to, kind of keep going back and forth. So you're going to see me here in a second, or I may have already done it. My bobbin ran out, so I had to go and get another bobbin filled up, and then I'm going to really speed up here in a second and go super duper fast. I'm going to go around this curvy part, and then I'm also going to go around a second time. And I left that part right there, and so you can kind of see how I'm just going back and forth, and I'm moving and turning my paper because I want my stitches to not be all lined up. And so that is what I did. So getting the strings trimmed down a bit, and now I'm going to kind of lay everything back out, similar to the way I had it, at least. I distressed that little circle that says a moment in time, and then I'm going to cut out a lot of this adhering down because I've put foam tape on every piece, or foam dots or squares on every piece. Sometimes it's a single layer, sometimes it's a double layer if I want things to be on top. So I kind of, I get it to about where I want, and I decide I needed to go ahead and start with a couple of the leaf pieces first, just to kind of get a bearings for where I need to adhere the picture down. And almost always when I do leaves, I'm going to fold and bend so they have some dimension and depth to them. And I'm going to pop dot or foam dot the edges of the leaves, and then I put a little of that Scotch tacky glue kind of like on the stem or the branch, and stick it in under the photo. And a lot of times I'll stick my tweezers in and kind of push down on that to make sure it's adhering down to the paper. So then I felt like I could go ahead and just adhere the photo down, but I did not put much tape over on the side where I'm going to be sticking in all these pieces. I left a little bit of room for me to have to work over there. So again, like I said, I skipped through a lot of this, but I did come back here to kind of show you how I'm like wiggling in a piece, and then I pick up the flower that's going to be above it, and then get it ready to go into place. And you'll see me there. I wanted that outside leaf to pop up even more, so I put a second little foam square under there. And I'm using a couple of different sizes here. These are not my favorites, but I'm trying to use them up. I have some of them, and before I order more of the ones that I really love from, I think it's from Scrapbook Adhesives, that those are my favorites. And so I'm just using these, trying to get them out of my stash. So that is kind of the placement. Again, I had the flower kind of laying where I wanted it to go, and I stuck the leaf in behind it, and now I'm going to pop dot 2 foam dots onto the little flower, the last one, so that gives me my little kind of visual triangle of the color flowers. And then that's going to kind of anchor my little cluster there, down there at the bottom, that circle. And then I'm going to come in with the brads, and this part was really sped up. But I'm putting on 3 brads. One says home, one's just a wood grain, and one is that little thimble that I mentioned at the beginning of the video that has significance to them because my mother-in-law was a seamstress. That was, how she earned her living. And then I wanted to use some enamel dots, but the ones that were with the Legendary kit just were not quite right. So I pulled out my little drawer, and as well as a pile of Altenew enamel dots that I have. And I decide on the green from that Freckled Fawn, that orangey corally color from the Simple Stories, and then the pearl looking ones that I have no idea where they came from. I honestly just don't know. And so I'm putting one of each color, and I like to always vary the size. I don't want to have like a big orange one in every cluster, or I want to kind of vary them around, have small, medium, and large, and all different colors. And so I'm going to also put those in 3 places because I really like how that rule of thirds, or not rule of thirds, but kind of the rule of 3 of using the visual triangle. I like how that looks. It is very pleasing to my eye. I do not like odd numbers. I'm a strange little bird. Here I am with my tab punching out from that spotty dot, and distressing it. I have a lot of very OCD. I mean, I'm diagnosed with OCD, so I have a lot of tendencies, and I don't like odd numbers, but in my decor and things like that, I do often, always almost use odd numbers, especially 3, because that's what looks good and pleasing. So I put that tab down with that spotty dot pattern, and now I'm using my, and you see I did pop dot the top of it. I like to have my tabs almost 99% of the time. I'm going to pop that top of it up and just glue the bottom down. So then I used my Dymo label maker and just typed out 1975, because I talked with my husband while he was at work today, and we're pretty sure that was 1975 because his father actually passed away later that year, and based on what Diane's age looks to be there, we're thinking that was Easter of 75. So you saw me going through different piles of thickers. The white just wasn't quite right on those first couple of sets that I pulled out. I wanted it to match the white tones of the papers and the ephemera pieces, since it was all from one set. So I picked these from Pink Fresh. I think it's the Just a Little Lovely collection. And I am going to spell out Easter Best there. And you'll see when I come back that I'm going to have taken that, here I am now. I've taken that to my sewing machine and stitched through those stickers just to give them some help. I thought I needed this little label piece short. Turns out it needed to be longer to kind of hide up under that label, and so I'm going to peel back up a little of that foam and adhere the label up under there. And that was just the way that I came up with being able to have the date visible without having to stamp in white. And so I just cut off the label. It's kind of a peachy color, so it ties in well.
Okay, I am going to call this one good right here for now. I will hopefully put a little journaling right here, maybe on some vellum, layer up a couple of pieces so that the print would still show. But I would like to get some of my husband's voice on this layout, as to kind of like where they were in life at that point. I know some of the story, but I would like for him to tell me a little more before I finish up the journaling. So I'm going to call this one done. And it really came together better than I thought it was going to, with just this whole color scheme issue going on in the photo. But I think pulling out this, it's like a pinky orange peach color. It really did tie in with a lot of the picture. Like I said earlier, even their skin tones a bit. And so I think that was the best choice, and it came together very well. I did go off camera and stitch down Easter Best, because this was Easter. I had to stitch backwards because I was so close to this bulkiness, and I couldn't quite get my machine to go all the way through going backwards, and then I just came forward again. But that will definitely hold them in place. And I'm so glad I was able to get this little thimble brad on here, as well as these others, to use up some of those that are in my stash. And so I just I really like this one. I think it will be something that my husband enjoys seeing, and my sister-in-law as well. So if you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up down below. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, I would certainly appreciate you doing that and becoming a part of my little YouTube family. I appreciate you being here today. It means more than you will ever know. And also, I would love for you to follow me over on Instagram, as I post a lot more things over there that just don't ever make their way to YouTube. So I will see you in the next video. Until then, do something good for yourself and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.